everyone, this is Disc Junkie and welcome to the Dailies. The basic idea for what I'm trying to do here is to just start a show where I don't have to spend so much time on editing and can just talk about random stuff. It doesn't really have to be about movies, it can just be about everyday things or short projects or things that I feel don't really warrant a big sort of extensive, well-constructed video. And so today I wanted to talk about something that is really important to me. It's meant a whole lot and something I'm feeling really excited about. And that is that I essentially got my first tattoo. I'm 42 years of age and decided to get my first tattoo, which might feel like a very sort of midlife crisis kind of thing. But the thing is that, I've always wanted a tattoo and it's something that I've been striving for many years, but I could never really settle on a design that I liked. That's been one of the major problems for me, is to decide what design I want to use, to decide something which I wanted to live with for the rest of my life, because that's pretty much what you're doing. I'm rambling, so let's just go ahead and take a look at this tattoo. And so this is my new tattoo. Gonna try to give you a good angle, which is sort of hard to do because it feels weird looking at it. So I put this on my inner forearm, which is a, you probably understand it. It's essentially a various set of icons, which would represent the classic buttons on an old school VCR. And so we got to play, the pause, stop, eject, rewind, fast forward, and record. Now I know that there is a lot of people who have done similar tattoos. Usually this is something that they do because they feel like a connection to music, and then it tends to just be like the play, pause, and like the regular ones, but usually without record and without the eject button, which is also why I really wanted to incorporate these, because those two buttons really connect to this being a reference to a physical machine rather than like a, modern day Spotify equivalent or something related to music, because, those controls never had eject or record on them for obvious reasons. And so, yeah, I got this a week ago. I also want to underline the process behind picking this specific tattoo. Because I just want to make it clear that this is not like a generic, like, I walk into the tattoo parlor and point at a sign like, I want that one. No, this was painstakingly crafted. It might not seem like a lot because it's a very sort of common motif, but I tried to Google for this and tried to find a setup which I really liked, which was like, incorporating the eject and the record and all the buttons I wanted. And it was very difficult to find, and most of what I found was just like, a straight line, but either the buttons didn't look like I wanted them to look, like they looked too modern or too rounded or too digital. Like there were really a lot of time spent on this. I'm sure I've worked several hours trying to get this right and really sort of perfecting the icons in terms of the sharpness and the angles and the positioning, making them work beside each other, getting like moving everything like one pixel at a time on the computer, just making sure that I have this much space, because it's something that you might not consider it like you have to work with this kind of stuff. But I'm very much perfectionist when it comes to like making drawings or whatever. I really want everything to be exactly where it's supposed to be. You're trying it out, you're flipping it upside down, like does it look right from there? And a lot of the time it will also be that even if it looks correct, or like if it is technically correct, like if you have the measurements and you have like a certain number of pixels or a certain type of space between each symbol, you sort of have to take into consideration like the symbols themselves might not be the same sizes, like there might be different widths because these icons are very different. Like the play button can't be as wide as the fast forward or record. Like they will differ, and they do differ when you look at like the old machines. So yeah, it was very much a thought behind like what alignments should they have, how far apart should they be, should one icon be different in terms of the height to make it look better even though it's technically not correct or level. Like there's so much stuff you have to weigh into this, and I really did put a lot of work to it. Like, this wasn't just a quick Google search and like, oh, there's something I want and I picked it. No, I spent countless hours trying to get this right and really working with the design. So it feels very personal to me that it came out the way I wanted it to be. The tattooing studio used this sort of surgical type tape or plastic. I didn't even know that this was something that they did these days, but apparently it is. And then they essentially just told me that I have to keep this for 1 week. So I kept the plastic on there for 7 days, and based on what I'm Googling and stuff before this, I really thought that I was gonna get like the classic sort of cellophane type plastic wrap that you would just have for a couple of days and then you remove it and you sort of have to constantly keep cleaning this. But no, this was on for a full week. Took this off yesterday, and then I have to clean it with some water and mild soap, and then just essentially put a bit of an ointment for like sensitive skin, like a very sort of typical thing that you can get at the store. I do this for 3 or 4 days, twice a day, and then I'm essentially done. So I'm on day 2. Tattoo looks really good. I'm really happy about it. I really wanted to get it on my inner arm. Bit sort of like a cyborg type theme, like if it was an actual set of remote buttons that were on my arm, it would be logical to have them here because it allows access with your left arm to push the buttons. And I also thought like it would be cool to have them on the outside of the arm, because that also allows, like, it's very sort of natural thing, almost like looking at a watch or something, to do that movement and have the controls on the top. However, if you put them on the outside of the arm and I'm going to be able to read them, then they would be upside down for everyone else when I turn the arm, which doesn't happen here, because if somebody's going to see this upside down, it's a very unnatural movement to do this. Like, it's not practical. You wouldn't show your tattoo that way. So that was also part of one of the things I learned with this session for my first tattoo, which I think was very positive, to sort of consider the fact as to how is your tattoo going to be viewed and how is it going to be shown to other people. Because let's face it, I mean, this positioning, doing something lengthy and something straight especially, it's not gonna look perfectly straight all the time. Like, you twist your arm and you move your arm, this sort of motif definitely changes. The same when you sort of bend your arm and stuff, you can see that it becomes a bit sort of pushed together, like the record button becomes more of a sort of oval when I'm, sort of, my lack of biceps, whatever. But yeah, I think the placement works really well. I really like the positioning, like it doesn't get too stretched regardless of where I am. And you have to consider, like, when you have it standing to your side like this, people aren't gonna notice it as much. So I think it's still fairly straight in that position. But if you're gonna show it, you're probably gonna show it like, putting your arm out like this. And so that's when you want it to be as straight as possible, which I also think is something that I managed to do. I mean, just looking at it like this, you can see that it is fairly straight. And I can also, I can show it like this, it's still fairly straight, you're holding it straight out like that. And so I'm really happy with the placement and how it turned out. It was a really good session, and I have to say that the sort of pain was something that I was really worried about. It wasn't nearly as painful as I thought it would be, but it's a very weird pain. Like, I've never really felt something to compare it with, because like if you look at getting like a shot or getting like a knife cut, it doesn't really compare. Like, it's not the same feeling. The only thing that I can sort of imagine comparing it to would be if you take like I don't know, like a hair trimmer, like, shaving your head, that kind of stuff. You take a hair trimmer or an electric razor or electric shaver, and you just turn that on and try to jam it in through your arm, and sort of considering that it might be a bit rusty and a bit dull, so it really sort of, grabs at your skin because it's not sharp enough. But I felt completely fine with it. I mean, it was a weird sort of intense pain, but nowhere near what I was expecting. So I definitely had a very positive first feeling about this. And I have to say that I was really sort of worried when I first came into the tattoo parlor. It feels like a total cliche. Like, I find the place and it's like this small sort of staircase down into like a basement. Behind the counter, there's a guy lying on his side, and he's like, has his head shaved, like really sort of badass guy with a bunch of tattoos, and he's getting the side of his head tattooed. Like, it's, you know, it just felt like a super sort of almost like a parody of such a total cliche. And then, like, I turn to the left, and there's like this visitor's little couch thing, and there is this tattooed guy's girlfriend, like the guy who's getting his side of his head tattooed. There's his girlfriend and little daughter. They're sitting there playing on the couch, and right next to them is like your classic pit bull type, you know, whatever you call them. Like, we call them fighting dogs over here. Like, you know the types, like a very sort of muscular. Okay, maybe this was not the best idea. Then one of the guys who I spoke to on the phone comes up to me, and he's just super friendly. And so they were just totally professional. Like, there was so much focus on, like, don't be worried about making decisions to sort of redraw the tattoo or something, because they do like these sketches, and they print out like the motive you want to use, and then they put it on your skin and get like this sort of pre-ink style template that they put on your skin, and you can wash that off and you put another one on, and until you feel that this is where I want the motive to go. And you get the time to sort of look in the mirror, and you get to twist your arm and move around and sort of see how it looks at various angles. So they were just super nice to me, and just so kind and so professional in really making you feel like you are in control of this decision, like it's not too late to back out. You really need to feel 100% that this tattoo is where it's supposed to be, like you're happy with the design and the placement and all. And I will link their page in case someone in Sweden or in the area wants to try them out. I mean, I will definitely be doing more tattoos. I mean, I'm pretty confident. This one cost me roughly 120 euro. It took about 25 minutes if you're just counting the time when they're actually doing the tattoo. And so, yeah, I mean, I decided on this motif specifically because I wanted something that connects to my love of movies and my love of filming myself, like with the whole record feature, and also just my love of vintage technology and VCRs and all that kind of stuff. So I know that this specific type of design or motif commonly can be about something else. I know a lot of people get it in terms of trying to symbolize self-control. Like, a lot of people will have like the play and pause buttons and some other buttons to sort of have a reminder to sort of like the play will represent like start doing this, stop doing that. And I am a very big fan of trying to take control of your life and how it's going, and sort of controlling your path, I suppose. So I'm not really sure what kind of tattoo I might do next, but this one is definitely 100% a positive experience and a great first experience for me. But that's it. I want to say thank you very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. As usual, hope to see you all next time.